I'm Brian Joseph from The Ohio State University, president this year of in this past year, 2019 until just a couple more days, president of the Linguistic Society of America. And I'm very pleased to welcome you all to the 94th annual meeting. I've been an LSA member since 1976, 44 years in all. And I went to my first winter meeting in 1977. And I've been coming to LSA annual meetings regularly ever since, especially in the last 2 decades. I haven't missed a one. One might think that it would be easy to become somewhat jaded by the experience of attending an LSA meeting, but I have to say that I always have looked forward to the meeting with great relish and great anticipation. There's the pleasure of seeing old friends and the excitement of making new friends and the enjoyment that comes with hearing new ideas and the testing of new claims about our field. Annual meetings have changed over the years, to be sure, in terms of size, in terms of offerings, but in many ways they're pretty much the same. They're always intense, with a lot of intellectual stimulation and a lot of fun packed into long and rewarding days and nights. So I welcome you all here tonight for the 4 exciting days of fun and linguistics, and nothing but fun and linguistics. I'd especially like to welcome those of you who are students, like I was in 1977 at my first meeting. Great things lie ahead for you here. And I urge you to take full advantage of all that the annual meeting has to offer. On a slightly more sober note, let me mention our civility policy, our code of expected conduct at an LSA event like this. Please take a moment to look at page 5 of the meeting handbook and to familiarize yourself with what we have there. But like the start of the Olympics, however, without the fanfare and fireworks, which you had last night, I have the honor of declaring open the 2020 LSA annual meeting. Exactly. So I'd like to encourage all attendees to visit the exhibit areas. It will be open Friday and Saturday from 10 in the morning to 5:30 in the evening, and Sunday 8:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock. I'd like also to say some words of thanks, because putting together a meeting of this sort requires a tremendous amount of effort and organization on the part of many, many people. First, I'd like to thank the many meeting volunteers. Their contribution is invaluable. Also, the LSA ambassadors, similarly invaluable contribution. The LSA staff, Allison Reed, David Robinson, and Beth Reby, and the student interns have borne much of the brunt of the organizational activities. Meeting sponsors, the package sponsor and donator of the 5-Minute Linguist books, Equinox Publishing. Also, 3 organizations that sponsored the Linguistics Beyond Academia Special Interest Group activities, Verilog, Appen, and Multilingual Connection. Let me ask if there are any former LSA presidents in attendance, and if there are, could they stand up and be recognized? Are there any? I see at least one. Don't be shy. Anyway, please let's have a round of applause for our LSA president. Let me announce a few items of interest. There are a number of programming highlights for students. There's a student lounge, there's a mixer and a panel. All of this is listed on page 16 of the meeting handbook. There are various special events. This is the international, or the end of the International Year of Indigenous Languages, and there will be an event I'll mention in just a moment. There will be the 5-Minute Linguist. There's also the Deeper Dive, the Wikipedia Edit-a-thon, and an event by the Linguistics Beyond Academia Special Interest Group. These are all listed on pages 13 to 15 and 17 of the meeting handbook, and I would urge you to have a look. A special interest of my own is the Ling Story Corps. That is an opportunity for you to speak for 15 minutes to be recorded for posterity. It's part of a project working towards the centennial of the LSA in 2024 and 2025. But we are set up in the Bourbon Room. There are time slots available. There are posters around that you can look at. If you can't find any, ask me, and I will be glad to talk to you about it. But it gives you an opportunity to talk for 15 minutes or so about your life in linguistics and what linguistics and what the LSA has meant to you, and it's sort of free-flowing kind of interviewing. So I urge you to take advantage if you can. This is the year, as I mentioned, of indigenous languages. It's coming to an end this year, but the United Nations had declared 2019 as the International Year of Indigenous Languages. And the LSA, especially the Committee on Endangered Languages and Their Preservation, and the Society for the Study of the Indigenous Languages of the Americas, have been working together to organize events and initiatives to celebrate this year. So I encourage you to attend the closing event for this year of Indigenous languages, which will take place in the River Room, which is in the Riverview complex, up the escalator across a bridge, walking bridge, and onto the Riverview complex. It'll be after tonight's plenary, from 8:30 to 10, and that way you can learn more about some of the organized events and initiatives and about the current work on the promotion and maintenance of the indigenous languages of the United States, as well as languages of other parts of the world. We're really happy that the LSA and that SILA were able to take part in this important year, and now that the United Nations has been asked to declare a decade of indigenous languages from 2022 to 2032, we look forward to further enhancing and enriching our work in this area, which has grown really exponentially in recent years and will continue to do so. And I note that there's now a new section in the flagship journal of the LSA language on documentation and revitalization research. I'd like now to invite up to the podium Angela Como, Muskoki, Aniunua, and Choctaw tribe, of those tribes, to do a land recognition ceremony. So please.
Stongo. My name in colonizer tongue is Angela Como. My indigenous name is Desert Rose. I am mixed indigenous heritage of Muskogee Creek, Chada or Choctaw, and Aniunwa, which is Cherokee and French. I would like to start this evening event by acknowledging the stolen land that we are gathered upon today. To honor the indigenous peoples of this area, whether those of the not too distant past or those who are here now, one must invoke a word, a Choctaw word. The pre-colonizer indigenous name for this area, that word is Bulbancha. Bulbancha is the name that my ancestors gave to this land. Bulbancha means the place where other languages are spoken. As approximately 40 indigenous groups traversed, traded, migrated, and hunted on these lands. The name Bulbancha is still in use. Some indigenous people of this area still do not use the name New Orleans. That colonizer name honors a wealthy Frenchman, the Duke of Orleans. Bulbancha honors a mixture of people. When we use that name, we resist colonization and cultural erasure. We celebrate cultures when we insist that the essence of this place is the coming together of these populations. Some of the original First Nations of this area are the Homa, the Chitimacha, the Chata, the Atakapa Ishak, the Tunica, the Biloxi, and the Kawasha, and others still. These nations still live here. Additionally, these nations are part of Louisiana's large mixed populations of Creole and Acadians. Members of the First Nations from across the Americas live here now, both north and south of the so-called border. Bulbancha, that name, is an expression of our presence and of our experiences. Bulbancha is still a place. Thank you.
So I'd like to turn the podium over now to Allison Reed, Executive Director of the LSA, who will give a rundown of activities, an annual report.
Thanks, Brian. So I'd like to add my welcome to the one that Brian already extended to all of you for joining us this year. It's been a great year of accomplishment for the Society, and I wanted to just take a few moments to review the work we've been doing to advance the scientific study of language and its applications. So we've been busy doing a lot of work around professional development and education, and I'm not going to read every single item on this list, but we've had a bunch of great webinars. We've been doing a lot of work around mentoring, and we're getting ready within the next few days to launch our online distance mentoring facility, which will include both assisted matching as well as self-service matching of mentors and mentees. We've also established some new committees and special interest groups this year, a new project on the scholarship of teaching and learning, which we're really excited about, a new ethics statement, and a joint membership program with the American Dialect Society. So please take advantage of that. For those of you who have been members of both groups, there's a discount now available. In addition to the work on professional development, we've been busy in the area of awarding scholarships, professorships, honors, and the other awards that we have established over the years. We have a couple of new awards that we'll be making for the first time at this meeting: the C.L. Baker Award, the Elizabeth Dayton Award, the Mentoring Award, and then continuing our fellowship awards at the Summer Institute this past July, first-time awards made in the name of Yuki Kuroda and Charles Fillmore. Those were made possible by generous endowments, along with some of the other awards I've just listed. And then we are continuing to make travel diversity grants to students from underrepresented populations within the linguistics community, and then finally also fellowships for students to attend COLANG, which will be at the University of Montana later this summer. So we're very excited about that. And Chief Dull Knife College will also be hosting portions of COLANG, I neglected to say. Moving right along, we've also continued to be quite active in our publications program, and we're delighted that we were able, in honor of the International Year of Indigenous Languages, to put out a 2-volume special issue of Language, which is a compendium of the best articles on Indigenous languages in the 20th century and then in the 21st century, and those are freely available, Volume 1 on our website and Volume 2 on Project Muse, our partner in publishing language. We've also had some editorial leadership changes within Semantics and Pragmatics, our platinum open access journal that we've been publishing for over a decade now, I believe. And then we launched a brand new journal, Phonological Data and Analysis, with 2 articles appearing in the very first volume this year. We had 3 new titles in our continuing partnership with Routledge. And then finally, we added a new proceedings publication to our roster of scholarly offerings. So we're very pleased about that. And then we've also continued our advocacy around a variety of policy issues relating to language. So One of those was the reorganization of the Social, Behavioral, and Economic Sciences Directorate at the NSF, and in particular, changes that were made to the Documenting Endangered Languages program and the new program called Dynamic Language Infrastructure, which is going to be part of NSF, and we'll be having a meeting on Saturday morning with the Committee on Endangered Languages and their preservation, and the head of the directorate at NSF will be here to talk with members of that committee and other interested members of the LSA a little bit more about those changes. So we've been quite involved with that. I'm also pleased to report that the U.S. Congress unanimously passed the Esther Martinez Native American language legislation just this past month. And the LSA was pleased to partner with many other language advocacy organizations, especially Native American language advocacy organizations, to help make that happen. President Trump is expected to sign it, so we're very pleased about that and can claim a decades-long victory in our work there. In addition to those, we continue to be active in issuing statements and signing on to statements issued by other organizations about important policy issues, and have also continued our advocacy in support of ample funding for research in linguistics, both within the NSF and the National Endowment for the Humanities. And in fact, we were successful in seeing an actual budget increase for NEH for the first time in a long while after many years of declining budget numbers for that agency. So we're really pleased about that. In addition to our advocacy work, we continue to be active in public outreach and media relations. I've already alluded to IYIL, which is our acronym for the International Year, and other people have alluded to it as well. But we have a brand new podcast that we're sponsoring with funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities. It's called Subtitle. I think at least 3 episodes and possibly more have already been released and are available for streaming. And so please check that out. Our colleague Patrick Cox, who is the producer of that, will be at the LSA booth throughout the meeting and mingling and networking with all of you. So if you have suggestions for the podcast, please let him know or let the LSA staff know. We continue to be very active on social media. We have over, I think, 45,000 followers on Facebook and 25,000 on Twitter. And then we continue to participate in Family Science Days. And I'll move just real quickly through these last few slides, but the point being that in addition to all that new stuff that I just highlighted, we continue to do all this other great stuff, and that includes our work on our strategic plan, our annual meetings, our journals, CoLang, which we're so pleased to co-sponsor with the advisory circle, our proceedings, our news releases about the great research that appears at our meetings and in our journals. And so the real message here is that the LSA is so much more than just a meeting. We do all kinds of great stuff all throughout the year, and what makes that possible is LSA members. So it's not just the staff, it's all of you, the people who come to the meetings, and the people who join our society. So if you're not already a member, please consider becoming one, and if you are already a member, consider purchasing a life membership or making a charitable donation, getting involved in other ways through service on committees or in editorial leadership roles, or even as a referee reviewer for our meeting or publications, and then to get involved in our advocacy and public outreach within your local communities. So, as I said, this is all made possible by a great team of the linguistics community, the Secretariat staff, our executive committee that are pictured below, our editors and peer reviewers, institute directors and host institutions, the committee leaders and members, our special interest group leaders and members, our contributors and donors, and our interns and volunteers. So thank you all for your support and your help. It's been a great year, and I hope we can have another great one in 2020. Thank you.